The Arizona Diamondbacks are officially in the running for the playoffs. There's no denying it now, but do they have what it takes to finally make it to playing October baseball?
You are Locked On Diamondbacks, your daily Arizona Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up and welcome to the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast, where we talk nothing but the Diamondbacks Monday through Friday. And thank you so much for making Locked On Diamondbacks your first listen every day. My name is Dana Biggs, and I'll be your host today. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. All right, today we're going to be talking about what the Diamondbacks have ahead of them for the remainder of the season, my official and very super important prediction of what is going to happen for the rest of the series. But before we get to those things, let's cover the weekend series, because this weekend we played the Minnesota Twins, a team that is definitely a good team. I don't want to make it sound like I'm bagging on the Twins or anything, but with their record where it is and our record where it is, I kind of was hoping, I was expecting a series win. I was hoping for a sweep. And we almost had it, but then we almost didn't have a series win. Let's talk about it. In game one, or actually before we get to game one, I was saying last week that we need to sit Corbin Carroll and Ketel Marte down for a day or two, let them get their mojo back, let them get their swing back. They didn't sit either of them down, and they should have. Granted, Corbin Carroll did fairly well in game one, but Ketel Marte, especially with the injury to his foot, he is not playing as well as he could be. In fact, he's not really doing anything for us right now. And I think that this was kind of the series to let him get his thing figured out. But they didn't. And now we're about to play the 3-4 playoff teams that, or at the very least, playoff contention teams to end the season. So there's not really any time to do that now. But I also said that we need to be playing Jordan Lawlar more. He is still growing and progressing and developing, so we're not going to see all-star level of play from him, but they did do that. Torrey listened to me. I know he listens to the podcast, and so I thank you, Torrey, for taking my advice on that one. And I'm glad that you did, because Jordan Lawlar is he's continuing to improve. It feels like every time he hits the ball, it is hard contact. It's very strong. And whenever he gets a base hit, he almost always hits for extra bases. And he's quick on the base path, and his defense is good when it's good. We'll talk about that a little bit more as we go. Brandon Pfaadt started game one, and he looked good. He's being aggressive in the zone, but he, as usual, is struggling with home runs and hard hit balls, especially on the road. And we were on the road, so he was struggling with home runs. Gave up quite a few, and gave up quite a few hits as well, which the entire pitching staff, I think, has been doing a very good job at pitching aggressively. All of our pitchers, both starters and the bullpen, I think they're pitching much more aggressively than they have in the past this year. And I still think better, but that does result in more hits and home runs sometimes. And that is exactly what happened in game one. Blaze Alexander, I've been talking a lot of good about him this last week, and he continued to do fairly well, but he was slowing down a little bit, didn't quite look his best this series. And he also, in halfway through game three, got hit in the arm and had to come out of the game there. We'll talk more about that when we get to game three. Vargas looking much better. Perdomo was looking pretty good. And Gabriel Moreno is looking great. He is doing awesome. And he's coming in clutch every single time he comes to bat. And he is getting very big hits. Ever since he's come back, he's been doing a fantastic job. And Torey Lavello, listener of this podcast, obviously agrees. Whenever Moreno's on the team and he's playing, the whole team does much better. So Moreno did give us a 2-run lead late in the game on game one. In fact, I was doing a live stream on another one of my channels. It's a gaming live stream. So if you don't like gaming, don't even worry about it. But I was live streaming me playing video games, and I had the game on at the same time because I'm a really cool person. And as I was watching the game, I had to turn the game off for a second, turned it right back on, and I turned it on right as he hit that home run. And my genuine reaction, maybe I'll post it to here because it was it was pretty funny. And everybody else who was on this live stream with me, or who are like video gamers, they're like, okay, so what? Who cares? Most of them didn't even know what the Diamondbacks were. So, but I was super excited. But then I was also, and I don't know that I will post this, but I was also streaming when they got the loss, and so frustrating because Woodford came in and he's been good. He hasn't been perfect, but he's been fairly good. But he came in and just first batter gives up a solo home run, still up by 1, loads the bases, and then in comes Saul Frank to kind of try and get out of it. And then his first batter he faces, he walks, ties the game with a walk, and then lost the game on a sac fly. So that was a very frustrating loss, not just because all my YouTube followers on my gaming channel saw it live, but because it was one that we really had in the bag. We were going pretty good, and yeah, that was a tough loss there. That was kind of a point where, and I was talking with my brother about this, where he said that was the point where I went, oh, they're not going to make it to the playoffs, which I don't know that I agree with him, but I sure felt like that at the time. Game 2, Ryan Nelson pitched, did a very good job. Another very great outing from Ryan Nelson. He did, at one point, he loaded the bases in the second inning, in the bottom of the second, but managed to get out without incident. And by the way, load the bases with no outs. So bases loaded, nobody out, and he got 1, 2, 3 outs without giving up a run. The next half inning, Del Castillo gets a double, followed by Alek Thomas, who hit a 2-run home run, give us an early 2-0 lead. Del Castillo and Thomas, great to see them getting hits and getting things going for us. We, in the top of the 5th, answered back by loading the bases with no outs. So about to break this game wide open. And then we didn't score in that inning. So that was kind of a bummer as well. It was 2 infield ground outs that they threw to home each one, and then the third out. So not very fun. And that happens quite a few times still. So hold on to your hats. That being said, Ryan Nelson pitched 6 whole innings, didn't give up a single run. Excellent job, Ryan Nelson. Rashi came in the bottom of the 8th and did struggle, ended up giving up 2 runs on 3 hits and a walk, but did get through the whole inning. And then in the 9th inning, Curtis came in with the game tied and managed to get a clean 9th inning. So we went into extra innings, and in the top of the 10th, Gabby Moreno got us an RBI to start things out, and then Blaze Alexander came in and got a massive double. It was almost a home run off the wall, and scored 2 more runs in the top of the 10th. So we ended up with having 5, so it was 5-2. And then Curtis came back in for the 10th and shut them down. So great win from the Diamondbacks. That's the kind of win I was expecting every game to be. And game 3 also was not that. So let's get into that. Game 3, though, Alek Thomas hit a double. James McCann hit him in. So Thomas and McCann, another, I guess, not top tier player that we would assume would be kind of doing all the heavy work. McCann gets an RBI. And then in the bottom of the 2nd inning, Lawler ended up with 2 outs, had a throwing error that extended the inning, and then a second throwing error that extended the inning even more and allowed 2 runs to score. Neither of them were considered earned runs because they both happened with 2 outs and were not the pitcher's fault. In the top of the 4th, Blaze Alexander came in and got hit by a pitch, as I mentioned, right in the elbow, and had to. He stayed on. He took first and he stayed in the inning, and then after that, Jordan Lawler got a double, so it was running on 2nd and 3rd. Jordan Lawler has been good about when he's knocked down, because of a mistake that he makes, he doesn't stay down. He gets right back up. This isn't the first time that I've seen where he makes a costly error and then comes right back and either gets an RBI or gets a run, which happens right here because after Lawler, McCann came in and homered to make it 4-2. So we're up 4-2. McCann responsible for all 4 of our RBIs. Chris Matt was the starting pitcher yesterday, and he pitched 5 innings and didn't have a single earned run. Again, those 2 runs were not credited to him. DeSclafani came in and in the 6th, gave up a solo home run in the 6th, and also gave up a solo home run in the 7th. Other than that, pitched a great 2 innings, but he did give up a solo home run in each inning. Alek Thomas singled, stole, and then Tim Tawa hit him in to get one of those runs back. And then in the 8th inning, the Diamondbacks loaded the bases again with nobody out. Alek Thomas, who's been doing great this series, gets a sac fly to score one of those runs, gets another one of those runs back. So we're up by 2 again. It's now 5-3, I believe. And then we didn't score any more runs. So we've stranded everybody on base again. DeSclafani then loaded the bases in the 8th inning, this time though with 2 outs, and we brought in Jalen Beeks, who got that final out. Ryan Thompson came in for the 9th, so we're winning by 2 runs. Ryan Thompson comes in for the 9th, gets the first 2 guys out, bang, bang, real quick. And then he gives up a single, and then they pulled him and put in Kyle Backus, who I don't mind Backus, and I don't have a problem with him, but it did feel weird that we're like, oh, okay, he just needs one more out, and he gave up a single, but he got 2 outs real quick. His pitching, he was looking good. And then Backus came in to throw 8 consecutive balls, or rather, I should say 8 consecutive pitches outside of the strike zone, because one of those pitches was ruled a strike, even though it was clearly out of the strike zone. And then another one of those pitches hit the batter. So he ended up loading the bases himself. And just before any more damage could be done, he lucks out with a pop fly to end the game. So not an ideal win, but a win. So that's good. But we had 2 instances in this series where it came down to the last out, or not the last out, I guess, the last inning, because game 1, there were no outs. But it came down to the last inning. We're up by 2, and we're sweating bullets. And against a team that's not going to the playoffs. So my worry is that when we are going to play teams that are going to the playoffs, or at least in contention for the playoffs, like the next teams, the final 4 teams we're playing, we're not going to be able to hold on. That's my worry. Anyway, a few other takeaways. Alek Thomas, killing it, doing great. Lawler, I think he's a bit unreliable on the defensive end, but is improving very quickly on offense. And I think it is worth keeping him in there. I want to see him continue to develop throughout the remainder of the year, even if that means giving up a few errors here and there. Hopefully not too many, but I want to see him develop on defense. Blaze Alexander has been incredible on defense this year, or these last few weeks. And last year he was where Lawler is right now. Very unreliable. And now he's one of our most reliable. So I think Lawler can get there. He just needs a little bit more development. Blaze Alexander's elbow, they got an imaging last night and said that it was very swollen, but nothing was broken. So we'll see. Today he's going to get some more tests done here in Phoenix and going to see where he's at. I don't expect to see him today. Maybe not even for the series, but hopefully we see him no later than that. And the other thing that's really interesting is that I don't want to say our B team, but I just said it. So there you go. Our B team is doing amazing right now. McCann has been doing great. Alek Thomas is kind of A team, but Alek Thomas has been doing great. Blaze Alexander, Tim Tawa, Jordan Lawler's been doing better. Like, those guys are the ones producing everything. And then our A team is just kind of not doing anything. Moreno and Perdomo doing pretty well. I guess really what I'm saying is if Carroll and Marte, who have been the ones really pushing everything that's still on the team, obviously a lot of our muscle that was on the team is no longer here. But if those 2 guys can step it up over these next handful of series, and the B team can continue to do what they're doing, then we have a really strong team there, a really strong offense. But if they can't, I don't know how much more we can expect to see from these guys. Anyway, after this, we're going to talk a bit more about what the Diamondbacks have ahead of them because there's quite a lot, and I'm very excited to get into it. So stay right there. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. So, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. This episode is also brought to you by Prize Picks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right means cashing in. With football back, Prize Picks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes, all in less than 60 seconds. It's quick, easy, and honestly my favorite way to follow along with football. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. The Diamondbacks have 4 series ahead of them. They are going to be playing in order the Giants here at home, the Phillies here at home, the Dodgers here at home, and then they're going to end the series in San Diego against the Padres. So 4 series, 12 games. And those are 4 really good teams. We currently, if we win the series against the Giants, then we will be up 1 against them. We'll have won 1 more than we've lost against them. And we'll actually be half a game ahead of them in the standings. We are 1 for 3 against the Phillies. We played 1 series against them. That was in Philadelphia. So this one will be here at home. They're very good right now. They're doing a very good job. They've just clinched a playoff berth, though. So we can maybe hope for a little bit less foot on the gas pedal from them. But I'm not going to count on that. They're a very talented team, and we definitely need our heavy hitters to show up for that series. We're also currently up 1 against the Dodgers. We've won 1 more than we've lost against them, and we are down 1 on the Padres. So we're definitely not in the clear with any of these guys. And just as a reminder, the Mets, who currently hold the final wild card spot, have it fairly easy from here. Yeah, it's going to be a bit rough going for them still, but assuming they take yesterday's loss and they're able to kind of get back to their usual winning percentage, they still have a shot at holding on to that final wild card spot. The Giants, they have it pretty rough from here. The Reds also have it pretty rough, but I would say that the Diamondbacks, out of all the teams in contention, have it the hardest because they are playing 4 very good teams, whereas all the other teams, the Giants are playing 3 good teams, the Reds are playing 3 good teams, the Mets are playing 2 good teams, and then from there, 2 non-contending teams. That's what I should be saying, not good or bad, but contending or not contending teams. So we are, I guess I was just going to say I'm fairly nervous about where this is going to go. I'm going to have a prediction here for you here in just a few minutes. But I wanted to talk a little bit more about how we need to have our players in it and ready to go. So I want to see Jordan Lawler in these series as much as possible. I would like to see Blaze Alexander in as much as possible, given that he's not still injured. James McCann, I wasn't really expecting to see much from him, but I want to see what he can do. I'm very curious to see how much we can get out of him. We have Alec Thomas has been stepping it up a bit. Alec Thomas has a fun history with the Phillies, as we know from 2023. So maybe he will provide some of that for us in that series, because every single one of these series is going to be, not only is it important to the regular season, but all of these teams are teams that we very well could play in the postseason. In fact, and I'll get into this in the next segment, there's a good chance if we were to make the postseason and if we were to win and get all the way to the World Series, there's a fair chance that we would play each of these teams on the way there, except for the Giants, because if we make it, the Giants don't make it. So, but you get the idea. So the other thing that's very important is that we figure these teams out and figure out a way to beat them while also not showing all of our cards against them. And what that's going to entail is a long starting pitching outing from each game. So our starting pitchers need to go at least 5 innings, ideally 6, maybe 7. That would be really nice. And then if our offense can really show up and give us a comfortable lead by the 7th inning, then the 8th and 9th could be handled by a Curtis or a Thompson or a Rashi or something like that. So then we only have 2 pitchers in the entire game, and they still have to play 2 more games against us. And potentially, again, I'm saying potentially, I'm not really, I'm getting to, I'll get into this from the next segment, but I'm not expecting a postseason run really, but I also wasn't expecting a postseason run in 2023. So take that for whatever you will. The other thing is that our offense needs to show up in a way that gets their starting pitchers out faster. We want to tire their bullpens out. We want the Giants bullpen. We want to see the entirety of the Giants bullpen, and we want to figure out every one of their players as soon as possible. And then also, if we can do that, then they're going to go into their next series against the Dodgers with their bullpen completely spent. And then they are not going to win as much against the Dodgers. So we want, especially against the Giants, we want to see their bullpen as much as possible. We want to wear them out. And then we want to preserve our energy as much as possible. But if we can have our first round of players are the top of our lineup, Corbin Carroll, Geraldo Perdomo, Ketel Marte, Gabby Moreno, if we can have them really firing on all cylinders and working together as a team, and they don't need to be hitting home runs every at bat, but just don't get out, And Carroll, that being said, I've been kind of hard on Carroll the last week, but he is getting on base. He's drawing a lot of walks. So that's good. Again, like the baseball movie, Moneyball. It's how often do they get on base? You got to get on base to get points. Carroll's doing that at least to a certain extent. So that can't be looked over or overlooked. So anyway, we're going to get into now what I am officially predicting, because I know all of you are thinking, and so is Tori Lavello, and so is the whole internet. What is Danon Biggs's prediction for how the postseason is going to go and how the remainder of the season is going to go? Well, hold on. You're going to have to wait just a little bit longer, but not by much, because we're going to talk about it right after this. You've probably seen a million ads for hair growth products and thought, sure, like that actually works. There are so many products out there, and it's hard to know which ones are actually going to do anything. That's why you should give Nutrafol a closer look. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand trusted by over 1.5 million people. And it's not just hype. This is a supplement clinically tested that targets the root causes of thinning and shedding with a proactive approach. You can feel good about it knowing Nutrafol is NSF certified and backed by peer-reviewed studies. See thicker, stronger hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering Locked On MLB listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Okay. I went through the remaining series for us as well as for the other teams in contention. And I just did an honest, like, okay, how do I see this series panning out? And honestly, it's pretty optimistic. This isn't a I'm not like, okay, well, let's look at all the stats and let's look at all the numbers and let's get a detailed. I didn't really do that. I just went, okay, looking at where our team is at now, where the other teams are at now, what do I expect to see? So, and this is also kind of a hope, but I think best case scenario, I think this is a very likely way that it's going to go. And this is what we're going to go back after the season is over, and we're going to see how we're going to score me on how good I did. So here we go. Ready? First series is against the San Francisco Giants here at home. My prediction that we will win the series 2 of 3 games. Next, we will host the Phillies here in Chase Field, and we will lose that series 1 of 3. We will then host the Dodgers, that again in a series that we will win 2 of 3. And then we will lose the series in San Diego 1 of 3. We will end at exactly 500 with an 81-81 record. So that's what I predict will happen. And that is kind of an optimistic prediction, but it's also a realistic prediction. It could, like, give or take 2 games, I think, either way. I don't think we win more than 83 games. I don't think we lose more than 83 games. So that's my prediction. Now, I'm not going to go through every single series with all the other teams, but I did want to let you know where all the other teams are. I did do the same thing. I went through every single series, and for them, I did, because I'm not quite as familiar with each team. I did go back and I looked at what their record against all the teams they're playing are, and whether they were at home or away, and what the factors were. So I did look into these ones a little bit more. The Giants are going to end the series also at 500, 81-81, which, if we win the series against them, we have the tiebreaker on them. So we end up in 3rd place in the division. They end up in 4th. The Reds will end up at 79-83. So they will lose a little bit more than we will, and they will be out of the wild card race entirely. Now the Mets, this is the final team in contention that we're really worried about right now. I think that they are going to play just as well as us in terms of, I don't think they're going to sweep anything. I don't think they're going to get swept. I think they're going to win 2 series and they're going to lose 2 series, which they're currently 2 games above us, which means that they will end the season at 83-79, meaning that they will advance to the postseason, and we and the Giants will be eliminated. So that's my honest prediction, is that we are going to miss the postseason by 2 games. Not because we failed to win, just enough, and not really even because we lost too many, but just because I think the Diamondbacks, and I've said this before, not on the podcast, but I've said this before throughout the years, if we can end at 500, I think that's a good goal for this team. And so if we do end at 500 or a little bit above 500, I think that's just the kind of team we are. I think we're a 500 team this year. And with the way that all the other teams in the league are playing, that's not a playoff team. Honestly, it really probably shouldn't be a playoff team anyway, but 500 just isn't a playoff team. And so I don't think it would be like, we got down to the line and then we choked. I don't think we choked. I think we just were who we were, and all the other teams were who they were. And there you go. Now, if the Mets end up losing and they don't make it and we do, then I see that more as the Mets choking than anything else. So I think it's the Mets' spot to lose still. They've been on a downward spiral, but I think that's probably going to stop here in the next, I think it probably stopped yesterday when they won. So that's my prediction there. But that sounds lame, and I don't like that. I want to believe that they're going to make it. Honestly, I do too. I think they absolutely still could, and I hope I'm wrong on some of these. Hopefully they win every series and they sweep the Dodgers. Oh, man. Dodgers sweep. Because here's what it would mean. We would make the postseason. We'd be the bottom tier, which means we would face the worst of the division leaders, which is the Dodgers. So our first round would be against the Dodgers, and we'd only need to, and it'd be a 2 of 3 series. If we just beat, and if we're here, it's because we beat the Dodgers, basically. So we've already beaten the Dodgers in a 3-game series. Doing it one more time probably isn't too unrealistic. And we did it last time. So that could be fun. So we'd have a shot there. But then after that, we would face the Phillies. And that, because they're going to play whoever the winner of the Dodgers wildcard series is. And the Phillies, I mean, if we lose the series against the Phillies here at home, I'm definitely not expecting anything from that one. But if the Diamondbacks surprise us and they end up winning that series or better, then we have a shot against the Phillies as well, which would take us to the National League Championship Series, where we would face either the Cubs, Padres, or most likely the Brewers, who we're currently 4 of 7 against. So again, like I've mentioned, there's a good chance that we're gonna play the Dodgers, the Phillies, and the Padres before the end of the season. And there is a good chance if we were to make the playoffs, we would play the Dodgers, the Phillies, and potentially the Padres. So anyway, my honest guess, we're not quite gonna make the playoffs. My honest guess is we'll hit 500, or we'll be very close to 500. We'll almost make the playoffs, but not quite, which sounds like a real big lost cause season. But again, we're going to have a super deep and experienced young team that we're going to have for a while going into next season. And I'm very excited for what 2026 is going to have. And if we do make the playoffs, we're probably not going to get very far. But then again, that's why they're called underdogs. And I think the Diamondbacks are the definition of underdogs when it comes to baseball and when it comes to sports in general. Tonight, we have our first game against the Giants here at home. The young Kai-Wei Tang will take on our very own Zach Gallen, who struggled against the Giants in San Francisco, but is often lights out here at home. So excited for that. I will be back here first thing tomorrow morning. So be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. We're on YouTube as well as all other places you get your podcasts. If you want to see more of me, and if you want to see that gaming channel I mentioned earlier, you can find all that as well as all of our other YouTube channels and projects at slackshack.tv. Thank you for making Locked On Diamondbacks your first listen every day. For your second listen, find the all-night Locked On MLB Game Night. Every night, every game until a World Series champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. My name is Dana Biggs, and I will see you tomorrow.